Woe to you, O earth and sea.
It's the Hop Nation
USA Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 202 of the Hop Nation USA podcast. I am back. I know everybody missed me from last week's episode where I was having a little fun in the sun. It felt good to get away, to not have to talk to Steve through a computer for an hour and a half.
Okay, you don't have to be a dick about it. Like, I was going to welcome you back. I was going to say, hey, looks like you had a little bit of sun, little fun japes here and there. No, you want to come in and act like a jerk off.
That's because I heard about what you said about me last week.
Fair enough.
Because I actually listened to the episode. Even though everybody on the podcast said I wouldn't.
Oh, whoops.
That's what you get. That's called Muppets. But yes, that voice you hear me arguing with is Steve. He is here again and still.
And always.
And
Forever.
always. Because he's the one that has the technical background.
Yay. That's me.
Yes. And of course, since this is a Zoom cast, if you're listening on a Friday, as you should, you can hear the slight difference in the audio quality. Or if you're watching us on YouTube, because you're watching us on YouTube, you know that this is a Zoom episode. So because it's a Zoom episode, we have ourselves a guest, and we have a fine guest for this episode. We have Scott Smith from East End Brewing, and he is also representing the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild. Scott, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks a lot for having me. Happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. It has been way too long. You've been on our list to have on the show for way too long, and this episode, we finally got you.
Yeah, I was looking through old email. I realized I have an email from you guys back in like January of last year where you were knocking on the door. I think that was right before we were leaving for this insane beer festival in the United Arab Emirates. We did. And I was in a mad scramble then. And then, of course, you know,
Right.
else. Put a pin in every email I have. Yeah, happy to finally make it happen.
Awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah. So tonight, Scott isn't necessarily representing East End as a whole, but I'm sure we'll talk a little East End throughout the episode. He is representing the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild, so that means in the future we can also try to do an actual East End show as well.
Okay.
Double dip.
We'll resend that email.
Yeah.
Yep.
But for now, though, we want to start out with the beers we were drinking, and we would be remiss if we weren't drinking East End beers, at least for one segment, and then we'll also feature some other Pittsburgh Guild members later on in the show.
Nice.
But let's start out with what you're drinking, Adam. What East End beer do you have?
So you called my shot. I do have an East End beer, and this is the Witte. This is their Belgian Witte, or their Belgian wheat. And I am a big fan of this beer. I admittedly took a couple of sips before the show started because I had to take photographs and all that good stuff and all that prep work. So in that meantime, I stole a couple of sips. And yeah, I am a big fan of the Belgian whites and the Belgian wheats. This is right up there. You can see if you're watching on the show, it's got the perfect color to it. When I poured it out, it had that nice fluffy head on it. I mean, it was an absolute classic. And tasting it sort of points in the direction of the banana and clove like you would with a full-blown Hefeweizen, but it doesn't go all the way there, which you would expect. But all in all, yeah, I'm a big fan of this beer.
Thanks.
Also,
Yeah, we've been refining that one for a long time, and I think we finally stopped messing with the recipe about 4 years ago. But that one's been in our catalog since I think year one. And one of the most recent additions was a bit of lemongrass into that, which provides a little extra. You know, we always, with spicing, especially on a beer like that, so many of them are heavily spiced. It tastes like a glass of coriander soup. And
Yeah.
I certainly know ours did the first time I brewed it back when I was doing beer making. And we generally like those things to be kind of at the edge of perception, you know, like I'm getting something in here. What is that? You know,
Yes.
what is, so it's not like spice that's soaking in a beer, but a beer with a modest spice component there.
It's kind of nice to have a beer that has flavors that need to be discovered rather than shoved in your face.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the goal there. So glad you like it.
I'm also really glad that I picked up a 4-pack of it because I'm gonna keep enjoying it.
I mean, it's kind of hot today, like when we're recording. And that
Yeah.
sounds like a real good, hot weather beer.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I will attest to that.
Yeah. For me, I have something somewhat similar to what you're drinking, Adam, but I'm drinking the East End wheat hop, and it's obviously a wheat beer. If you go back to episode 200, Rick Seaback actually mentioned it as one of the beers that he had in his portfolio in his beer fridge waiting to be drank, but he didn't actually get to drink it on the show. But it sounded good to me because I do like wheat beers. I also like hoppy beers. And I tell you, one of the first things I noticed when I opened up this can, it had a real bright citrus note to it. Like you just get a lot of citrus on the nose right away. Yeah. But it also poured almost like a Hefeweizen with a big fluffy head as well. Drinking it though, yeah, it's incredibly smooth and it has a nice hop character to it. But Adam, I know you're not the IPA guy.
That is correct.
But I don't think it's not hoppy in that way. That it wouldn't be too bitter or anything like that for you.
So it kind of goes more in the way of a juicy hop rather than a West Coast IPA bitter.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Scott. You brewed it. You know way better than I do.
Yeah, that one was my recipe. Mosaic and Galaxy hops. Back when, and we made that first in 2009. Is it 2009 or 2007? I'll go with 2009 so that I won't be lying in case. We've been making it since at least 2009, and the goal was to make something with low bitterness, easy drinking, not necessarily like an IPA shaped beer or hop forward, West Coast thing. We were going for more what today we would refer to as juicy hops, tropical fruit notes that you get out of Mosaic and Galaxy. And back before, that was a time also when those hops were readily available. You could buy Galaxy hops on the open market.
Yeah.
Having to sell your soul or have a contract. But yeah, that's our OG hazy, as we refer to it around the brewery.
Very nice. Steve, just out of curiosity, is there any IBUs on the can, even though IBUs don't matter?
No
information. Okay, all right.
The only information I'll give you is it's 5.1 ABV, so it's sessionable.
Okay, I'm rocking a 5.1 as well. So
yeah, our cans are pretty austere in terms of the information provided, but I'm going to say that IBUs on that are going to be probably less than 20.
Okay.
It's all late edition. It's all Whirlpool and dry hopping.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, like I said, with IBUs anymore, with dry hopping and things like that, things get all over the dial. So we don't ascribe to IBUs nearly as much as what we used to. But just wasn't sure if that information was there or not.
Yeah, it's here. It may not be.
Yes. Yeah. Don't ask me with the can. Ask the guy that made it again. But speaking of Scott, what are you drinking tonight?
I'm going for a summertime favorite from our drink. I don't know if it's weird to be drinking our own beer, but that's generally what I have in my house. And in our brewery. That's where I am.
Right. In your brewery. That's where you are.
With the barrel here, right? I can. That dumb joke. So I've got our. I got to get it just right here for your viewers at home. Our Petal Pale Ale, a favorite of mine. As the ideally, or I should say, designed to be the perfect post-bicycle ride beer. So it does have a dry finish to it, that crisp finish to it, but Chinook hops and Amarillo give a nice piney ride to the end there. A little bit of malt presence. So probably, I don't know, would you call it a West Coast Pale Ale? It's certainly not a hazy by any stretch, and you can really see through it if I hold it over here. But got some nice clarity. We're able to accomplish this without a filter. We actually don't own a filter at the brewery. I don't know. I think probably a lot of small brewers don't own filters. Certainly these days when a hazy appearance is not troubling or offensive to a beer drinker. Yeah, and of course the hazy thing came along right after we really dialed in our ability to get beer clear. Good timing.
Hey, it'll at least help it stand out in its own way.
Mhm.
It actually helps with the stability, because what we're getting out of the beer to make it clear is yeast and proteinaceous material that actually helps with the stability and consistent flavor of the beer. So that first one you drink out of a case is going to taste like the last one you drank out of the case without having to store the cans upside down or some other nonsense.
Or roll it, or
Right.
Start doing gymnastics with it.
Yeah.
Right on. So, as we mentioned at the top of the show, this week we are going to focus on the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild. They have, in the past, they released a guild guide, and we'll get into that as well, because there's a new guide for 2021 for everybody to get out to check in. But just real quick, Scott, can you give us a breakdown of what the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild is, who's involved, and what your role is especially?
Yeah, sure. So the guild, for those that don't know about it, is includes people that are making beer in Allegheny County and that are interested in participating in the guild. And I believe we have virtually 100% participation. There's a couple of small players that we haven't been able to reach, but I think it's like 98% of the beer makers in our county that are involved in this guild. And our goal as a guild is, as you might guess, to let people know that Pittsburgh is an awesome beer destination. And we're trying to talk to people within Pittsburgh and trying to talk to people that are outside of Pittsburgh to spread the word, to get people to understand the incredible beer scene that's happening here in this city. And not only that, I think it's we've got some really excellent quality beer being made in this town. Actually just got back from a trip. You mentioned traveling, which really feels weird to say.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But I was in another city, which shall remain nameless, and there was a lot of breweries, but I wasn't like blown away by a lot of the beer that I was finding there. And I'm like, wow, I think, you step away and you come back and you're like, this is really an amazing thing we have happening here in Pittsburgh. So we're here to let people know about what's happening in beer in Pittsburgh. And we're all, the other thing that's amazing about this scene, as many beer scenes, is that everybody gets on well. We all play nice together, and we're all excited about seeing others in our industry, in our category, be successful and open new facilities, or add new equipment, or hire new people, or survive a pandemic, whatever it can take. So this is about raising all boats, and we've got some really fantastic boats in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. And that's something we champion like all the time when we talk about Pittsburgh beer, because we are developing, or I would say even at this point, we just are developed as a beer destination for travelers, because you have other cities like Denver is an obvious one, and Asheville is another obvious one. But when you just look at the simple amount of variety in Pittsburgh, from, Aurochs, which is a gluten-free, to like the places that have great sour programs, to,
Right.
Strange Roots and their foraging, you have things all across the spectrum that, just on top of the great quality that you would find in other breweries. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not a cookie cutter model by any stretch. Certainly you'll find some common beer styles across, but there's, there are breweries that focus on very specific style categories, and that's what they identify with.
Yeah. If you can't find a beer you like in Pittsburgh, you just don't like beer.
Or you haven't been out, or maybe you need a guide.
Oh, really? Oh, if only there was one available.
And who and where would you get a guide to all the breweries in Pittsburgh?
On my desk. I found one right here. The great part is they are in all of those, I think 38 breweries that are listed in the guide in Allegheny County. You can pick up a brewery guide at any of those locations. So stop into your local brewery, which you should be doing anyway, and pick up a guide. Yeah, it's a great resource. It gives you a little bit of a glimpse of what each brewery is about. Hey, do they have a restaurant? Do they allow dogs? Is there live music? What's the just about everything. The one thing that's not in here is a tap list, because we all know that all brewery tap lists, changed by the time I started this sentence to now,
Right.
You would just have to issue everybody an iPad.
Right. And just like push new alerts to them constantly. Maybe that'll be the next edition. We'll do tablets for everybody.
3.0. Everybody gets this Microsoft Surface.
Right. Yeah. Waterproof.
So is there anything inside the guide that helps you track the different breweries that you've been to or anything like that? Is there any sort of passport program that goes along with it?
Exactly. Yeah, there is a place to, and here I'll just open it up. This is Cinderlands here for people that are watching, and I don't think that's even coming through. But there's a little blurb on the brewery and a spot to collect a stamp, so it does operate like a passport. Because I mean, how can you even live your life without keeping score? What you've done and what experiences you've had, because you'll never remember those things with all the beer you've been drinking. So you need to have a place to keep that all in one handy little package. Have I ever been to that brewery? Oh no, I haven't been there. Let's go to Lincoln Avenue tonight. So you collect those stamps, and then you get incentivized to collect more stamps.
That's been ingrained in me very early on, because I went to Penn State, and Zeno's had a international beer passport of like 100.
I know it well. I know it a little too well. In fact, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that behavior has been ingrained in me early, but yeah, I get it. Also within that guide, does it still have things laid out within ale trails? Because I know little ale trails were created for like the South Hills, just the different neighborhoods of Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Yeah. There's trails that are sort of sprinkled throughout. That's sort of how the book is organized. So for instance, the city trail covers Cinderlands, Church Brew Works, 11th Hour, Trace, Roundabout, and Hop Farm. So you can actually hit the QR code on there, and I mean, I don't know if you want to hit 6 breweries in one day. Depends on your goals and how much quality time you want to have. Is quality or quantity? I guess depending upon how you gauge quantity. Yeah, you can hit things in a nice, tight geographical area, so you don't have to spend all your time driving around in a car or Ubering, or you can even hit one spot and then go, oh, there's 2 other breweries right near here. We can just walk to those.
I've been guilty of that before. I'll say that.
Yeah. I'm sick of this delicious beer at this wonderful brewery. Let's find another.
I need more delicious beer.
Yeah.
Another wonderful location.
Right. And also, food is the other part of planning those outings too, because eventually you do need to eat something, and you can even poke around to see who's got food trucks and what their schedule's like, or who has a full-on restaurant.
Yeah. You can either choose who starts with a sandwich or ends with a dinner.
Exactly.
So is there any plans for updating the guide once new breweries open up? I know we've got some that are coming up. We've got 2 Phrase that's on the cusp of opening up. Back Alley up in Dormont. They're well on their way. What sort of plan is there to include the new breweries that are coming into the scene?
Yeah, so this is the second edition of the guide that just came out. Where did we release this? A month ago? Can't even, probably about, I think it was in April. Yeah, it's always a balance. Like, it's actually a thicker book now. It's actually like a little dictionary, as opposed to like, a stapled document, because we've got more players involved and more information in here. So it's always this game of like, okay, who's making beer now? All right, let's go to publication with it and get a bunch out and get them into people's hands. And then, well, we don't want to print like, 100,000 of these things, and then they get dated. We want to kind of print a modest amount so that when it's time, we can do another edition next year. And say, okay, who wants in on the guide? So there's a lot of herding cats that goes into getting this together and getting all this information together, and I mean, releasing this thing at the end of a pandemic quarantine, like, well, we did allow dogs. We used to have children. We had a restaurant, but so it's all these things where you're kind of hedging about what you think the future state will be once the ink is on the paper. But yeah, we probably will see continuous updates to this as the beer scene continues to evolve and become even more wonderful than it is today somehow.
Excellent.
Nice. Just to jump back, you had mentioned incentivization to go out and get these check-ins into your passport. Is there anything people can actually, win for going to breweries in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, for sure. There's everything from if you, I believe the rewards start kicking in when you've hit 10. And you can collect a Pittsburgh Brewers Guild koozie, and then it goes up from there to a really cool piece of glassware. And then if you check all the boxes, and actually we had somebody stamp every brewery in the book like in 2 weeks after releasing. And I think they did it. I think they did it all in a weekend or something, too. Even more insane. But then you get an insulated double wall stainless howler, like a 32 ounce, really nice quality container, along with, of course, all of the wonderful experiences that you've accumulated along the way. Even if you
not to mention delicious beers,
right? 3-day weekend of whatever. Yeah, they came in from out of town, and like, I don't know how, if they were like planned it coming in, but I think there's a picture of them up on the Brewers Guild Instagram page with they came in and like talked to all the brewers. So all the brewers were like, oh my God, these guys are doing it. They were like totally going for it right out of the first one to get it done.
That's definitely like a forethought planning. If they came in from out of town, and they just probably had it all set out for them.
Yeah.
Also, that's a lot of Uber rides, it sounds like.
Here, I'm gonna eat here. I'm gonna pass out here. I'm gonna wake up at this. Who's open early? We'll hit them. It takes a lot of perseverance and dedication to make that happen.
Yeah, good for them though.
Yeah, sure. And they got an incredible view of the entire beer scene in a single city visit.
I have a feeling that we might not be the first city they've done that to, though. If you come in that efficiently and take a whole city down.
I feel.
Yep. They ain't seen it all.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were like, knocking on the doors at Two Phrase and seeing, can I write in an extra page in the back?
Getting Phil's at Necromancer to take away.
Right, exactly.
I just feel like they're in the hotel room at 7 o'clock in the morning and someone's starting up a General Patton speech to get the day going.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah, awesome. So let's come back to the beers that we're drinking currently in this segment. And we're, of course, all drinking East End for this first segment. But Adam, would you like to go first and revisit your Witte?
I would. The Witte there on the camera, which you had talked about the label saying that it was a minimalist design. I really like that. I like that it tells you exactly what it is and nothing else. I like having that minimalist design on it.
Yeah, it's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum of like a Stone Brewing beer with there's like 6 paragraphs on the back that had a half a glass of beer, you're unlikely to finish the reading assignment for the day. I just kind of like got like I as we were doing this design, and trying to figure out how we wanted our beers to look, I had this great conversation with the guys at Commonwealth Press. the example that Dan from Commonwealth gave me, and this is a bit of a deep dive, but he brought up an interview and sent me a link to a video interview with Kim Deal from the Breeders, talking about how she plays bass. And she's like, bass players, they're all up and down, they just need to just sit in the pocket and play simple and that's the foundation of the whole. And I'm like, you know what, I'm kind of exhausted by beer labels in today's world. It's all noise, and when you've got a whole wall of them in a cooler, it all just becomes noise. And Dan's comment was like, well, that's also the way you talk about your beer. You talk about it, you don't scream about it. You just, and that resonated with me. And so we pretty much like gave them the keys to the branding castle and said, go ahead and
Nice.
forth and make everything look nice and simple and clean. And we'll give the basic stats and the government information that's required by law. And we'll try to come up with a design for each one that speaks to what's going to be in the glass.
Sometimes 3 chords in the truth is just as powerful as a stack of Marshalls.
Exactly.
But to the beer itself, I mean, it's a winner. And this is not just blow and smoke. This is legitimately a really good beer. I really like this beer. The Belgian Wits and the Wheats is something that I tend to go towards, especially during the summertime.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm going back to. It's easy drinking. It's got that nice fluffy head on the initial pour out, which I like to see. To me, whenever you have a wheat beer and it doesn't have a fluffy head, that's an instant turn off. I've seen it before.
Yeah.
This one hit it just right.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a winner, bar none.
Yeah, you want something where the foam's going to make a real mess in the side of the glass. That's by the time you're done with it. Lacing all the way up and down, you have to actually go rinse the glass out before you put the beer in the glass. Yeah. Thanks, man. Glad you like that one.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you made it.
Yeah.
For myself, coming back to the wheat hop, I also enjoyed this beer. Adam, you would really like this beer. Don't let it scare you. It's not, it doesn't even really approach the New England IPA kind of realm. It's way low on the bitterness. It's just very juicy, fruity, citrusy, but it also has that soft, pillowy mouthfeel that you get from a lot of wheat beers. And just to jump back to what we were talking about as far as can design, I like the can designs because they kind of remind me of, and maybe you get the reference or not, but the film Death Proof, the Kurt Russell's car, where it's just matte black and then it has the skull on the hood. That's what your can art is like. It's very flat matte on the color and then a logo. Green and then a frog and then
right. Yeah. I mean, and the big hop cans always look the same. We do get a little issue on like that background color on wheat hop. And this is me being like super like picky about like, that's the printer put up the color that looks a little like somebody's arm more than like the sort of peach color I was going, but it's always hard to translate a color from the screen onto a label. And usually we're like so hand to mouth on everything. The labels are arriving the day before we're putting the beer into cans. We're like, well, I guess that's the color of the label we're going to go with.
No going back now.
Yep.
Guess this is it.
Yeah. So you buy the beer, we'll mail you the labels later. You put them up and figure it all out. The TTB kind of frowns on that kind of behavior.
Yeah, they don't love that. Government don't love it.
Yeah.
But Scott, the Petal Pale Ale. Why don't you give us some final words on that?
Yeah, as it's warming up in the glass here, I'm getting a different nose on it. It's starting to open up a little bit more, and I'm nosing a bit more of the malt than I had initially. It's like coming out crisp and hoppy at first, and then as it warms up, the flavor is getting more depth on it. And then there's that. I'm gonna try to get it on the camera there. That lacing aspect that tells me that we've done some things right. As I usually talk to the staff at the brewery, like there's like 20 different ways from the grain mill to the glass that you can screw up the head retention on a beer and the nature of the foam, and there's like one way to get it right. And when we get it dialed in, we lock it down, because that's how it needs to happen, because that's such a big perception of it. If you have a beer that's, you know, low in the glass and it looks like a glass of water on the top, something's going on.
Mm.
You've missed a step along the way, or you put it in a dirty glass. Easy to screw it up at that last step. That's it's also easy to fix that one with a little soap and water and a lot of rinsing. Yeah, Petal's a something I look forward to. It's a one I have a personal connection with, and I feel a little sad drinking it, because this is the second year that we did not do our keg ride, our big charity event that we do typically end of April every year, where we're delivering the first kegs of Petal Pale Ale to a mystery destination, along with 400 of our closest friends. So this low speed procession, I'm pulling a half barrel keg, 120 pound half barrel keg behind a bicycle. I started doing this like 16 years ago, and I don't know how long I'll be pulling a keg on a bicycle, but at some point I'm gonna have to have somebody else pulling a keg, or maybe
electric pedal assist is fine.
Yeah, that's true. Electric bikes, maybe that's the way. It just has to be like, you know, super discreet. And,
don't worry, we won't tell anyone.
Yeah, but it is funny. We get people every year that would come out for the keg ride, and they're like, "Oh my God, those kegs are full! Like, we're putting like kegs on trailers." What do you think we're doing? And why do you think we're going so slow? Really, really slow. And that's also as entertaining as people, you know, the guys that are like hardcore cyclists that show up like with, you know, the clipped in shoes and all the kit and everything, and then we're like, you know, 8 miles an hour jogging through the city on a 10-mile ride essentially. But we're happy to get everybody out, give people an excuse to get out on a bicycle, and even on a slow ride. The beer tastes better after a bike ride anyway, so it's kind of like cheating a little bit too.
Right on.
Yeah. If you didn't get to do the bike ride this year, at least you have the consolation prize of having the 192 ounce can that you had from early April.
The long boys.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. We still get emails for people. The long boys left. They see that and they didn't look at the date.
Right.
and realize that it was April 1st. And and even the video of me like drinking the can, I'm like holding and we took 3 cans and like I don't know, 7 labels, and just glued, you know, wrap the labels, put the cans together with the labels, so you can see that there are 3 cans there, because there's a gap in the, and as I'm drinking it, you can see the can spacing. It's like, but people see what they want to believe, and like, wow, those are awesome. And we just got a canning line at the brewery, and I sent that video to the project manager that did the installation, and he's like, "Oh my God, now I'm gonna have people asking me to make a canning line that can handle a can like 25 inches long." They already, the 16 ounce ones are already kind of tippy on the belt anyway, let alone something that's as long as your arm. Definitely had a lot of fun with that.
Yin's guys got something that can fill a wizard staff.
It's already ready to go. And the thing is, we even to make the joke complete, we actually put it up on our web store for sale, and we have a way to turn like inventory control on, so if the beer falls out, it'll stop selling the beer. So we put it on and set the inventory to 0 and turn the inventory control on. But somehow like 3 people bought 4 packs. It's like my front of house manager is like, "God damn it, man, I knew this was gonna," so he has to like email people and like tell them they're dumb, you know.
Yeah.
But not exactly, but
right.
Kind of, and sort of talk them down from the fact that they're not going to get the long boys that they had hoped for. But we just got an email last week about somebody saying, "Are there any long boys left?"
Just sold the last one. Sorry.
The last one back. Never. Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take a quick break and come back, segment 2, and more with Scott from East End. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody. This is still the Hop Nation USA podcast. I'm still Adam. That's still Steve. And we still have Scott Smith of the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild and East End Brewing. We have not run him off. I feel pretty good about that. I'll be perfectly honest.
The night is young.
We don't know what's coming down the pike quite yet.
If we can get 2 sessions in, that's at least an hour, and that's publishable enough.
Yes, but we are here talking the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild. So, of course, we have to talk Pittsburgh beers. So, Steve, I'll let you go first this time. What do you got in your glass?
Okie doke. I have a style that I'm always confused about, but it's coming from Dancing Gnome, and I have their Altbier. That's right, Adam. Dancing Gnome does something other than IPAs.
Well, I've actually had some non-IPA stuff from Dancing Gnome before.
Yeah, they do pretty good stouts as well. They do a lot of stuff, but it's just obviously known for their IPAs. And but their old beer, which is an old traditional German style, comes in at 4.8% on the ABV. It's got a lot of rich maltiness to it. You would really, really like this beer, Adam.
Oh, really?
This is everything that you love. It's low in ABV. It tastes like a lager, but not necessarily, but it's not brewed that way. But yeah, it still has all those rich malty caramel characteristics of a lager, and it's a little bit on the darker side, so it's not like a cracker pilsner.
I'm gonna have to pick myself up some then.
Yeah,
right on.
I like it as well, but you would really love it.
Excellent. Scott, how about you? What do you got going on for this segment?
I got a beer that's about 3 hours old.
Oh, damn! That might be a new record.
One of the perks of the gig, I suppose. This is our latest neighborhood beer. I always don't know which way to turn this. Duquesne Heights is the neighborhood, and if you're looking at video, you can see that Duquesne Heights is just west of Point State Park on the Pittsburgh map there. And then the beer that's in the can is a West Coast American Stout, which is a personal favorite style of mine. This is something that I kind of cut my teeth on in the craft beer world. Beers like I don't know if it'd be considered a West Coast, but like Kalamazoo Stout from Bell's Brewing.
Oh, yeah.
And a couple when I was out west in San Francisco that have escaped my mind at the moment. But always been a favorite style. This one's a little bigger, 6.8, and it's got a really wonderful flavor profile on it. I'm really excited about this beer. I actually drank one of these at the brewery this afternoon.
Nice.
Out of the can with the before we had as we're starting up the line, there's always a few cans that get through without a lid on, and so you're drinking out of a nice sharp metal edge.
You got to earn it.
Yeah, hopefully you're not tasting like the cut lip that you've gotten from but yeah, it's a something we've made a lot of stouts in our days. At one point we had something called Festival of Darkness, where we had all of our taps turned over to dark beers and ran that way for probably a better part of a month. Not something I recommend for a brewery. It's kind of like financial suicide. You automatically alienate, there's 4 people walking into the brewery and 2 of them are like, there's nothing in here for me. But it's definitely something that we get excited about, either in low ABV or higher ABV forms.
So for the lay person, can you explain the difference between a regular stout and a West Coast style stout?
West Coast / American stout, generally they're going to be a little stronger than, say, a dry Irish stout or a foreign export stout, which is like maybe a little sweeter version of an Irish stout. You've also got milk stouts that are going to have typically some milk sugar in them to create some additional sweetness and rich mouthfeel. And then, those are kind of like antiques that, people aren't making Irish stout. Well, we do, because, again, financial suicide. And we cast a wide net of styles. That's our our nature and our inclination. Maybe a little bit of ADD thrown in there too. But West Coast has a little bit more hop character to it. It almost reads like a black IPA. Or Cascadian dark ale, if that term is even in use anymore.
Nope, but I like it. I know it. I enjoy it.
Yeah, it's a big push. Like, no, we can't call them black IPAs because the P stands for pale, and it's like, well, I don't know anymore. But yeah, it's a little different variant on it in terms of its composition. This one's in fact a little bit reminiscent of two other beers that we've produced in the past. One more recently was the Black is Beautiful iteration that we did, and also a beer that was in our original portfolio that we don't make any portfolio. That sounds so
fancy, professional.
Here's my portfolio. A beer that we used to make is actually the second beer we ever brewed back when the we was just me, and it was our Blackstrap Stout. So brewed with Blackstrap molasses and brown sugar. So this beer has some of those elements. I would say my favorite elements of Blackstrap Stout, but in a little different format and a little stronger form too.
Right on.
Sounds like it achieves a little. It sounds like it achieves like a little bit of a bitterness without like adding coffee to it. Getting in. Yeah,
and it's the bitterness kind of rides up with more malt character that you get out of it by making it a little stronger. You're using a bunch of bitterness in a stout also doesn't typically come just from hops. You'll get a lot of it from roasted barley, perceived bitterness. So not actually IBUs. The beer can be bitter as hell, but have like 0 IBUs. It can all be coming from roasted barley, depending upon how you've made up the recipe.
Yeah, right on. Adam, what are you drinking?
So I have a beer from a brewery that has been woefully underrepresented on this show. And this is the Pious Monk Dunkel from the Church Brew Works. So two things I have to apologize for. Number one, for them being woefully underrepresented. And two, anytime we have talked about them, I've just called them Church Brew Works. I never realized that they were the Church Brew Works until I looked them up yesterday.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm not sure I knew that either.
It's been on every can that I've ever drank.
CBW is always like there wasn't a T in front of the C,
right?
On the abbreviations I've seen for it. Interesting.
So yeah, it's the Church Brew Works. So mea culpa on that one.
I mean, I think that's on everybody. Like, I don't know.
Well, from now we're going to call you the Hop Nation, just as penalty, punishment, or maybe penance, I guess, would be the
penance. Yeah, that's more
the appropriate,
more appropriate parlance.
Yes, so you got to be call yourself the Hop Nation for the next week.
And then we could sue Ohio State for them stepping on our territory.
Nice.
And then we'll get all new equipment, and it'll be fantastic.
Neat.
Sweet.
But as for the beer itself, I mean, this is a gold medal winner at the Great American Beer Fest. So that lays out right there that Pittsburgh is making, award-winning beer. And not only is it an award winner, it is a multi-award winner. It won gold in 2012 and 2019.
Yeah.
So they went back to the well and won again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. I remember when that happened and reaching out to geez, now I've forgotten the guy's name. Who was the head brewer there at the time? I'm blanking on it. Must be some beer in my system for that. Shit. All right, I'll give it up.
It happens.
Been there myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, as for the beer itself, I mean, it's a Dunkel. It's dark lager. It's great. And like I said, this is a beer that's well underrepresented on this show. I'm glad I picked it up again because I got to revisit it.
Yeah.
It's just a good beer. It's just a good drinker. It has a good malt forward taste to it. Hops are obviously low. Thank you for that.
And it's also an underrepresented style in the beer world.
Yes.
You're not going to step into a pub and typically find a Dunkel. It's something that they've been making since the beginning of their existence. And I think 1996, I think, is when they
around there.
Mhm.
Don't ask me how I remember that number, but I can't remember. That. I texted with last week about something, but
yeah, there's only like 3 Dunkels I can think of on the top of my head, and that's one of them. Hofbrauhaus does one.
Mhm.
Right.
And then I had one from Hop Farm actually not too long ago.
Oh,
That
nice.
was really good. But
Yeah,
that style is not common.
This is the style that is driven on quality rather than hype.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I'm there for that. Sign me up for quality rather than hype, please and thank you.
Fair enough. But also, I think, just to segue into the actual segment, I believe Church Brew Works, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they are participating in the traveling beer market that is coming up at the end of this month.
Yeah, I think they're on the dance card as well. Yeah.
But let's get into what the traveling beer market is, because it is one of the initiatives that the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild is putting forth as you're partnering with Beers of the Burgh, because usually in June and May, that's when Beers of the Burgh occurs. They've moved it to September, but in the interim, they're going to have this traveling beer market, and it's going to start at the end of this month. So can you tell us more about that, Scott?
Yeah, it's actually a great way. The guys from Beers of the Burgh, Mark, and emailed us and said, "Hey, we're Beers of the Burgh has been on hiatus here, like the rest of the world has,
Mhm.
and here's a way to kind of do something." And basically, it allows. There's a lot of planning that goes into these events, so it's not like you can look at the way the world is now and go, "Oh, great! In 2 months, this is how it'll be, and we'll be able to do X, Y, and Z." So they come up with this great format that will work regardless of which way the wind's blowing. So a bunch of breweries participating. Last Friday of each month, I believe, is the timing on it, and it's at a destination. It's going to be traveling around, hence the traveling part of beer market, traveling around to different destinations around the city. So taking the beer to the people, and there's going to be food. There's going to be local artisans with other goods too, that I think is being added to the programming. So it's going to be a great chance for people to re-experience going out, and regardless of what your everybody has their own sensitivities of, like, who's in their household and what their risks may be. This should be something that should work for anybody regardless of their situation. So and it's a great way for people to check in on different breweries and places that maybe have been semi-closed for the last year, and see what they're up to.
This is an excellent way for everybody to re-enter society.
Right. And if the experiences we're seeing people have at our brewery about re-entering society, they kind of come in and they're like, they don't know how to move among their fellow humans, and like, "Oh, I'm sorry, you go ahead. No, I'll step back." Like super polite, super like it's their first day out of the home. Trying to navigate. How does this work?
We don't want to screw anything up.
Yeah, I'm trying not to be a dick. Really, really trying not to be a dick here. This is great. I'm out of the house. The sun is shining. I have a beer. Yeah, don't wreck it for everybody else. It's really I don't know. It's a strange time, to say the least. That's something we've heard ad nauseum. But this reemergence that we're all stepping into is feels pretty all right. from where I'm sitting anyway.
Which, by the way, Reemergence would be a fantastic beer name.
Ooh.
When's that emerging or coming out?
I don't know.
In 4 to 6 weeks.
Right. Hang on, I got to send a text to get a label name.
Yeah. I mean, hey, you guys are known for your doing kind of collaboration beers with breweries around PA.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the next one. The next PA loophole is PA loophole : Reemergence.
That's not bad. That's not bad. We actually have been talking about whether it makes sense to have, we did loophole number 3 and interest seemed like it was waning. And then with 4, I don't know if people were like, if it was, around the first of the year and everything gets a little soft in the beer industry, January, February.
Mm-hmm.
And the response we got from breweries for the 4.0 version of it kind of blew it out of the water. So we have 3 cases of this beer left at the brewery for ourselves to sell, which is a little weird, but the purpose is to support the other small players that don't have canning ability, and take advantage of the weird loophole in the Pennsylvania law. So it looks like we're a loophole. We haven't announced it or talked about it yet, but it looks like a loophole 5 is in the cards.
Nice. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I know a lot of people appreciate that, and it seems like there's always newer and smaller breweries, not just in Pittsburgh but PA, as the, I don't want to say Pennsylvania and be insulting, but as the the smaller towns start getting their own breweries.
Right. It's the amazing thing is it's not like breweries are replacing breweries. Breweries are replacing bars.
Mm-hmm.
And so, a bar used to be a place where you could eat and drink, and now it's becoming a manufacturing facility.
Right.
It's just very small scale compared to where it was with a handful of massive producers. So that's exciting. And I mean, I'm amazed at these guys that are opening during a pandemic. They're opening their doors during a that is some
that's balls.
Yeah.
At a level like, I'm going to put a pin in this and let it sit for a while and wait till we see what, I'm not going to sign a lease. Like, nope, I'm doing it. And we're going to open up for takeout only. And oh, by the way, I don't have any packaging, and I'm filling growlers and letting people come into a 3x3 vestibule and get beer and turn around and leave.
Yeah.
Wow. That's almost as dumb as opening a draft only brewery in a crappy neighborhood in Homewood and never being open to the public.
That for a while. Yeah. Like you're saying that, and like there's one brewery in particular that they got forced into it though, because Altered Genius in Ambridge, PA, they were on the cusp of opening, and I believe they were supposed to open in the St. Patrick's Day weekend, right before everything shut down. So they had no choice, but they adapted incredibly quickly.
They did.
They were canning, I think, way before they ever expected to be canning.
Right.
They adapted, and I've been there a couple times since. And it seems like now that things are opening up and reemerging, they're settling more into just being a normal brewery as most people would expect, but they didn't get that first year experience,
right,
of operating normally.
And the other thing that they were robbed of is a big splash opening. Like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, we're having pack the house with a bunch of people. That's an unsettling thought.
Yeah.
for the last however many months. But that's we didn't have that either, because we never opened to the public in that first year. We just kind of opened and started putting some kegs in some bars, and so there wasn't any grand opening thing. And now I see guys open up and they have a brew pub, they have their branding, they know what beers they're making. They're they've thought it through, which is
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So here's these guys, they've undoubtedly thought it through, but then at the last minute the rug gets pulled and they didn't get the big splash. So that's hard. Yeah,
it's hard, but it seems that they're carrying on. So yeah, good for them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then obviously there's like Trace that opened in mid-pandemic, which is like, all right, if you guys want to go for that.
Rolling, and they're making great beers. They got a fantastic
Mhm.
brew in a spectacular space. It's nothing stops beer.
Yeah,
You know?
no.
Nope. Beer finds a way.
Yeah.
For sure.
So yeah, good things all around for there. So the other thing that we wanted to touch on is there's rumors and grumblings and rumblings.
Did you say Brewers? Because that's an awesome segment name. We need
I
to
didn't
steal.
say Brumers, but you know what? Keep
Hey, Brewers.
make a note of that.
Is it Brewers?
Yeah, make
There's no
a
court
note of that.
speaking involved, but I can say that. Can I have the court reporter read that back, please?
There's a
Sorry.
rumor of something called Three Rivers Beer Week emerging in October. And we're wondering, is this a replacement? Obviously, Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week kind of went to the wayside. And usually that's when the pedal, the pedal parade was also included in that.
Yeah.
What is Three Rivers Beer Week, though?
So we had Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week, and there were a lot of questions as to what these existential questions about like what is Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week? Is it Pittsburgh Craft Beer spread out over a week, or is it Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week, where it's craft beer from all over that's happening in Pittsburgh? And at the time, we didn't have nearly the number of the breweries that we have now, and it became kind of about things that weren't about local breweries, and the events took on a flavor that was kind of, I don't know, hard to pin down, and we as brewers sort of I think we had a hard time sort of keeping our hands around it. So this Three Rivers Beer Week is brewery driven. You're not going to have 600 events during a week. We're going to have a beer week event per day. Breweries can do their own events and other things during the week. It's a free world. You can do whatever the hell you want. But in terms of things that are official sanctioned beer week events, we're going to be kind of doing a tighter job of curating those. So it's not, there's another tap takeover at such and such place or what have you. So people can expect we've got some wonderful surprises coming up on this. Some stuff that that is still sort of in the formation stages that we can't talk about yet, and we're going to be announcing in a little bit. There'll be some exciting collaborations with outside of Pittsburgh, and that'll be exciting, with the parties participating in that, and the nature of how that'll shake out. But we're all really excited about getting together and celebrating Pittsburgh beer, and providing something, again, like we talked about before, pulling people in from outside of Pittsburgh and letting them know that there's a beer scene here, and that we're doing some pretty incredible stuff that they should be aware of, and also pulling in the casual beer drinker. The beer world has gone through these evolutions where back early on it was about pulling up weird beer styles, and now it's then it went into like there was an ABV race, strongest beer wins, and then hoppiest bitterest beer wins, and then hazy beers and fruited sours, and as we roll along to all this, and now I think we're kind of moving to a point where we're kind of settled with breweries operating in their own identity, and it's a more kind of personal expression of motivations of the people that are involved, and that's always been what it's about, is connecting with the people and the individuals that are behind the beer. So So I'm really excited about it. I'm on the events committee to help make sure that we're putting something out that's representative of what we're doing
Awesome.
as a city. So I'm really jazzed about it.
And I appreciate what you said, that craft beer has kind of gotten to the point where each individual brewery can sort of express themselves. 5-6 years ago, I don't know that the Pittsburgh craft beer scene as a whole could have supported that thought process
Right.
and that theory, but
Right.
Pittsburgh craft beer has expanded enough to the point that it now can. You
Yeah.
have all those different niches that we can fill handily now.
Yeah,
And I think
and
that is a great thing to celebrate.
And we have the beer drinkers of our area to thank for that. Hey, I'm going to go out and do this weird thing. I have friends whose palates have evolved similarly across that. I have one friend, unfortunately, his palate went through the whole session beer to high ABV to super hoppy to hazy to sours, and unfortunately now he's drinking hard seltzers exclusively.
I know.
But
Last one.
as a brewery that we make a hard seltzer. I'm not everybody has a place in the world. It exists. I understand it, but yeah, he doesn't drink beer anymore.
Yeah.
But everybody's on a continuum and on a journey, and I'm glad that we've got so many more people on the beer journey than like you say, we couldn't support 10 years ago. There's no way in hell we could support 40 breweries in this county, where we are now. But here we are, and it's a fantastic place to be, and it's only going to get better.
Yeah. People weren't ready for it, but yeah, everybody's ready for it now, and everybody's just ready to have a neighborhood brewery at this point.
Yeah.
Like you said, replacing those bars that only had 2 or 3 offerings, and maybe one of them was a Sam Adams if you're lucky.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God, I found something that's not that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found something that's not Iron City, Yingling, Bud Light.
And it's also I don't know if you guys are coffee drinkers, but it's almost like a coffee shop model. You think about that. If you're going to a coffee shop with any regularity, which one are you going to? You're probably going to the one that's nearest to your house.
Mm-hmm.
You may have a favorite one. You may have one that does something that's that you like to meet a friend at or go to, and it has a special place in your heart and in your head. But in reality, assuming your local coffee shop is making good coffee, you're going to hit the local guy. And I see that sort of being the direction that beer is moving to, with so many small players in every neighborhood having one. Now, when you get out into the hinterlands, as you say, maybe people will have a choice of one brewery in a small town in rural Pennsylvania. But in the city, as long as people are making beer that you may have some favorites, but you're gonna probably cling to your local more than anything else.
Yeah, it's something we've talked about in the past too. Like when there were a bunch of articles about oversaturation of breweries, and I did some research, and if you go back into the time like pre-prohibition to like the 1700s and 1800s even, like the number of brew houses per capita are still nowhere near what we have today.
Right.
And I think you have to double the number from 7,000 breweries to like 14,000 to reach the same per capita.
Yeah, we just cracked the actual number that it was pre-prohibition like a year and a half ago or something.
Mm-hmm.
In the nation as a whole, like, oh, there's this many breweries and now we have that many again.
Right.
Yeah.
Except there's a shit ton more people.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hell, we've got more states now.
Right.
Yeah.
There's so much more.
It's true. Maybe even a couple more on the horizon. You never know.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully 2 or 3. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah. So just to come back real quick to the Three Rivers Beer Week. Last episode, we were talking about what if Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week came back. Because we were kind of joking. We knew this was on the horizon. We were joking, what would we want to see out of Pittsburgh Craft Beer Week? And we talked about how the collaboration beers were a big hit part of that, but we also know it's kind of a strain on brewers. So we wanted to pitch an idea possibly for brewers who don't have the ability space, time, whatever it is. Instead of a collaboration beer, maybe they could make a collaboration lunch combo with a food truck or an eatery, and that way it would give people in Pittsburgh a place to do lunch all throughout the week, and they could get a new lunch combo every week.
Wow, that's a really interesting notion. I mean, we made prior to the pandemic, we made a big investment at East End in putting a kitchen in, and partnering with a prominent local chef, Justin Severino, doing some spectacular food in our place. And then, the world started to crumble, and we've reemerged with our and doing the last thing on the list of things that I'd said that I would absolutely never do, which is be a restaurateur. So now we have our own, we're running our own kitchen. But that's a very appealing notion, and that's something that we could pull food trucks into. We could there's a lot of food trucks are the lifeblood of the small brewer, because ultimately we all need to eat at some point, and we rely on food trucks. And it's a complicated, people don't realize it's a complicated scenario to go like, okay, I need to have a food truck here, and people will say, well, how much do they pay you to be here? I'm like, what? They're not.
That's a thing.
Nobody's paying anybody. And wait, they're not. Oh. And so there's what in our experiences with it over the years, before we had a kitchen, was there's this matchmaking exercise that's rather complex, where a certain food truck might have 4 guys working on it, and they're like ready for high volume, and they might be needing to go to a place. They're not going to come to East End Brewing on a Tuesday night when there's 12 people in the patio and 20 people inside or whatever. It's not the math doesn't work for them. They can't pay their staff unless they're doing high volume. But then you get a smaller truck that has 1 or 2 people on it, and the nature of their cuisine is so that they can carry it to the next day, or they might say, hey, I'm going to sit here and do prep work all day. I just need to be somewhere, and if somebody comes up and wants food, I can prepare it and sell it to them. So it's a complex scenario, and this wonderful sort of symbiotic relationship we have with the Pittsburgh food scene. So that's a cool notion.
I don't. We have some other notions about doing trivia nights and tap takeovers for smaller breweries, like the ones that just opened during the pandemic. But feel free to go back and listen to episode 201 to hear all our ideas.
All right.
So there was actually one other idea, because I wasn't on the show.
True.
But I still did have an idea of being able to showcase not only the can art, but a lot of the shirt designs and things like that. If there was a way to do a gallery of showing that artwork.
Ooh. Because
there, obviously that's the first thing you see with a beer, but there is no specific showcase for that artwork.
Yeah.
So if there was a way to get together with a local art house or something like that and be able to showcase that, I think that would be a great way to get those artists out in front as well.
That's an interesting. And then the other thing you could do is wear your favorite beer shirt to that event.
Yes.
Add an extra. Then you stand next to the wall for a while. Turn around, come back. There's so many different like beer adjacent businesses that this industry has, and wonderful people that we work with that do design work for us, or help build our spaces. A lot of people build their own, but we rely on other people to do certain aspects. I mean, there's and the industry is pretty tight. Like I say, we just bought a new compressor. Nobody wants to hear about the brewery's new compressor. The guy who set us up with this compressor and that we spent a lot of money with, we're really excited about the work that he did. So we talked to other brewers about like, hey, if you need a compressor, I got a guy. He's fantastic and really kicked ass for us. But it's all sort of like internal things that are sort of beer adjacent. They're not really in the industry, but part of what we need to survive and what keeps us moving.
Mm-hmm.
So,
You know you've made it when you've got a compressor guy.
I got a guy. I know a guy. Well, we replaced a compressor that we had that is was made in Oakmont. The date on the plate on the compressor was 1965.
Oh my, that's
So
vintage.
It's older than I am, which is saying a lot. And so the guy, when he got it, we had the other one pulled aside and the new one installed, and he was taking a picture of the TV, he's gonna go back and show his boss, like, hey, we made a little upgrade here from that one to this one here. I think it'll perform a little better. But yeah, he everybody needs a compressor guy. I mean, you don't have a compressor guy?
I don't.
I'll get you. I'll hook you up. I know a guy.
We're not putting PSI in anything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up segment 2, and then we're going to come back with segment 3. We have a little game prepared. Scott had already been talking about the neighborhood series that East End produces, but we have an idea of what if instead of neighborhoods, they produced beers for landmarks around Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. So we've put together some ideas for that, and we'll see what Scott thinks the beer styles should be for those landmarks.
All right.
Stay tuned. We'll be back with segment 3.
Welcome back, everybody. We have made it to segment 3. Scott is still with us. Steve is still running the board. And of course, I'm here because you are hearing my voice. This is episode 202. Let's get right into the beers. Scott, you have not gone first yet. What beer are you drinking?
I've got an old favorite of mine from the cellar, a New Glarus beer.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
You guys have had a chance to dip into any of these?
No, that's on my bucket list.
If you are, New Glarus is kind of a fascinating brewery. They've been at it for so long. They are a massive operation, and they only distribute in the state of Wisconsin. Those last two things generally don't go together because the way to get big is to blow out into many states of distribution. But they've found a way to do something that is seemingly impossible, but they are just in the state. I remember I think they were into Chicago when I lived in Chicago when I met my wife, and that's where her family's from, which is why I also have this beer in my house from visits and things. I think they were into Illinois for a little bit, and then they pulled back and started doing everything in Wisconsin because they just couldn't keep up. But this is a fantastic beer. This is a Belgian Red that is very. I'm trying to get it to work on the stupid background thing. Called their Wisconsin Belgian Red, which is heavily fruited. I think there's some statement on here about how many pounds of fruit are in every bottle, but it's all Wisconsin cherries. Sometimes they can't get the cherries and they don't make the beer. They make something else. I've had their raspberry tart is fantastic, and I think the one that I've seen lately is Serendipity, which is just this whatever fruit they can have that they put together, and it's a blend.
Whatever seasonal.
They tapped out. There was they had a poor cherry crop yield in the state, and because of the amount that they're pulling in, they simply couldn't get it to make the beer. The amazing part about this beer is this is a 750 ml bottle that you can find at the local Piggly Wiggly and all the little grocery stores, and it's like less than $10. It's this spectacular beer. So I'll share a little bit of this with my wife when we're done here, because I'm not going to push through the whole bottle tonight. But yeah, when I travel there for family visits, I usually try to throw a case in the car.
Nice.
And now I have a sudden urge to make a cannonball run to Wisconsin, grab a couple of cases. Come back.
I've been close to the brewery, but I've never been in the doors. And I've met Deb from New Glarus at a brewers conference, but is it Deb? Gosh, there was beer involved. Yeah, her name's on the bottle. Yeah, great people, great operation.
Nice.
Yeah, their Spotted Cow is always one of those beers that's kind of a bucket list beer for me. I understand it's not even one of their best beers. They have, a lot of beers that are, they more desirable, but the Spotted Cow is one of those beers that's just, I have to have it once in my life.
It's everywhere. It's everywhere. If you dip your toe into the state of Wisconsin, you may have some Spotted Cow on your toe. It's every place. But
that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
But they are the thing that's fascinating to them, as I said, like it's always been at East End Brewing, our focus has been local, and they are just like local, everything local, all the produce they use, everything. It's kind of amazing what they've built.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel a road trip coming on soon.
Yeah.
Now that we can do that again.
Right.
Yeah. Now that you're free to travel, go ahead.
Oh, and I got a glassware from my buddy Mike Potter, Black Brew Culture here for fancy glassware too.
Oh, nice.
Keep my pinky up.
Pinky up. Got the stem.
Steve, how about you? What do you have for fancy beer glass drinking?
Well, it's still just our glass, but our glass is fancy. But
Damn skippy it is.
It has no stem. What I'm drinking though is coming to us from another Pittsburgh area brewery, of course, and I'm drinking the CDS version 1.2, the candied sour from Abjuration, and it's their sour program with a whole shitload of Swedish fish in it. I don't know that they can say Swedish fish because they might get cease and desist, but I can say it.
The fish of Sweden.
Right. Yes. Scandinavian poisson. But yeah. We've had the Skittle, the rainbow flavored candy version 1 of this in the past, and I enjoyed it a lot. This one it's a little more sour, and but it still maintains obviously like a lot of candy and sugary flavors to it. It comes out more like a Sour Patch Kid because of the sourness. But yeah, I think you would enjoy this one as well, Adam. You're a fan of sours.
I'd say if you got extras, I got some North Carolina Schwartz beer sitting over there on the counter. I could trade you for them.
Oh, neat. Yes.
By the way, I've got beer for you.
Yeah, good. You said you listened to last week's episode. Hopefully you heard the warning about burial. I
did. And no. And
it gets any better. What the hell's wrong with you?
I drank it.
Sorry, Scott. We're having internal fights about Adam not bringing.
I went down to Asheville a few years ago, and burial was high on my list, and I got there as they were closing.
Oof.
Bad planning. If only there was a Pittsburgh brewery guide for I had like one beer and I'm like, hey, you need to get the fuck out. Very, very nicely, by the way, very nicely.
They showed you the door.
Stayed for a quick one, and I think I was the last beer poured that day. But
nice. Yeah. So don't worry, I could get you some burial, Steve. I got connections.
Yeah, good. What are you drinking, Adam?
So this, of course, is another Pittsburgh beer from one of the Pittsburgh favorites. This is from Grist House. This is their Disco Devil. It is a Hellerbach. I have not had many Hellerbachs. It's a skosh more hop forward than some of the other Bachs that I've had in the past. It's a Hellerbach. That's kind of expected. But it's still very good. I mean, it is not hop forward. That is just a skosh more hops there than, one would expect from a malt forward beer. But it's still very good. Pours out very nice.
Ooh, that looks nice.
It is. It is very picturesque beer. Comes in at about 7% ABV. I appreciate that. Yes, Grist House goes with a lot of the sours and the big heavy duty stouts as well. But they also, they will also go back to the classics as well. Yeah. I know that they make a really good Pilsner. This Hellerbach is really good. So I appreciate that they're covering both ends of the spectrum.
I mean, Grist House does everything because not too long ago, that Hops of Darkness Black IPA is probably the best Black IPA that came out in a while. They also have that Morning Feels tea and coffee. They have they have a seltzer program. They have everything. So
Yes.
They did a black pilsner, and like they released it the week before we released ours, and the same week that Hop Farm released theirs. And I was talking with Malcolm at Hop Farm, like, what the fuck is going on in Pittsburgh? of these really weird, everybody's got their head down doing their own thing. Nobody's going, oh, I'm going to make that too. So it's like, how is that possible that we have these like, so he brought them over and we actually tasted all three of them together, and they were really, really close. like, wait, which one is my glass again? But it was insane to see, like, people dipping into a deep track in the beer world and coming up with the same thing that were lining up like within the same month. It's crazy.
I always wondered if you guys were like just challenging each other to do a style, or if it's just a serendipitous thing, because like Grist House put out a black IPA and then Hitchhiker put out a black IPA like within the same week.
Yeah.
And like before there was no black IPAs.
My sense is that, and we didn't do ours this year because the last time I think we drank it all because we really liked it. But, what's that? What's black hop? I think everybody's got their head down, doing their own thing, trying to go, what have we not done lately? You're trying to manage your own draft list, so that you don't walk in and find you have 12 stouts on tap at the same time. Trying to cast a broader net of styles to somebody coming in, because we realize some people come in, they're in Pittsburgh for a day, and if we don't have something hoppy for them or something sour for them or something pilsnery for them, they're gonna be disappointed and have a bad experience. So I think it's purely random. So when it all falls and the things stack up all at the same time, like, what the hell's going on? How did that happen? There's another aspect of it, of yeast sharing, though, where like, hey, do you guys have any pilsner yeast that you're done with, and we swap things back and forth with other breweries, because yeast is repitchable, and as long as you get a clean batch, as long as nothing went horribly wrong, you're going to produce yeast that somebody else could produce with, and you don't have like 3 lagers all stacked up ready to go.
Right on. So, speaking of portfolio and tap management, East End, for those who don't know, they have a program that's been running for a while now, called the You Are Here series, and they're brewing beer styles for pretty much every neighborhood in Pittsburgh, and I believe it comes out to about 93.
90 is the official number.
90, okay.
There was some question as to what the count was early on. Wikipedia had one count. The city website page was broken. That didn't have the I don't know if it was pothole season and they were directing resources. But we actually have a letter. I think there's a PDF of it still up on the website for the You Are Here beers on that page that you can click to. So it has the city crest on it, and it gives the official list of 90. And we needed to do that because we needed to end all the bickering.
Right.
Oh, there's Observatory Hill is a neighborhood. It's like, well, actually it's called Very North. But it includes what an area referred to as Observatory Hill, just all this like pedantic, like,
right.
No, I live here. This is what it's called. Well, the city official list for the city is not up for discussion.
But within the lines drawn.
Don't get angry at me. Get angry at the city planners that named your neighborhood something different than you want it to be called. So we're 49 beers with the release of the new one, the stout that we just were talking about before. 49 beers into the 90 beer series, so it's moving at a shockingly fast clip, and it's been great because it's been the laboratory for us. We're trying to cast a diverse net. We're trying to make them all as different as possible. We've done a few hazy hoppy beers and different iterations in there, but when do we get a chance to do a wild rice black pilsner, or we've got a Grotzen on the card that's probably going into the tank tomorrow. So weird stuff is great. It's a great chance for us, because if you're making the same beer every single day, it feels like manufacturing instead of like brewing.
Mhm.
And I think that's also, it's been resonating with people in the same way that it's been resonating with us. The downside is, pre-pandemic, we would actually go into the neighborhood and do a release, find a cool local business, something that we wanted to highlight in a neighborhood, and say, hey, here's this really, this awesome little coffee shop, or here's a little restaurant, or here's a little mom and pop, theater company operating here, and we're gonna come in and do an event there and highlight what they have. And so we actually have developed a small following of neighborhood beer groupies that come to each of these releases in the neighborhood. And then COVID came along and kind of wiped all of those, gathering opportunities.
Yeah.
So we're excited to start doing that again. We actually are doing our first neighborhood. Well, we did one in Bloomfield because we happen to be working at selling beer at the Bloomfield Farmers Market. So we're like, sweet, we got Bloomfield. We're going to release Bloomfield in Bloomfield. This is fantastic. We haven't done this in a year. And then the next one we have coming up is Central Lawrenceville, which we're going to release at the traveling beer market. So so that all was fortunate and worked out well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, as you're saying, you're over halfway through this series, and we were talking that maybe the next series could be beers styles brewed for landmarks in Pittsburgh. And so we're just going to pitch a couple landmarks to you, and you can tell us what beer you think would best embody.
Oh, so we're tuning the beers to the neighborhood, because that was some criticism we got, like, hey, you're doing a beer for Bloomfield. Why doesn't it have basil and tomatoes?
Why isn't it all Italian?
Why doesn't it? Yeah. Why doesn't Garfield taste like Garfield? I don't know what Garfield tastes like.
I assume lasagna.
That's more, more Italian.
Maybe it tastes like Spack Brothers. That's actually where we did the release for Garfield. Okay, so we have to tune it, because eventually I was like, okay, we could do this. We could like partner with a local. Here's a donut shop. We're gonna do a beer with, and then like my head started to explode. The thought of like 90 times over.
Right.
It's going to take us like 20 years to get through this list of beers, and we wanted to kind of. So we decided to make it all random, but for the purposes of our discussions this evening.
Yeah. For tonight, you don't have to worry about actually producing the beers and the logistics of it, but just
love that feeling of not having to worry about those things.
Right.
This is just for funsies.
Yeah. This is all fun.
I like it.
But if you do it in the future, people will know where it come from.
All right.
So first landmark, and I think it's one of the most famous in Pittsburgh, is right outside of PNC Stadium, as it sits now, the Roberto Clemente statue. It's one of the most selfie taken. People stop by anytime they see it. Roberto Clemente is obviously one of the most respected ball players in Pittsburgh ever. So if you could brew a beer that people would want to include in their selfies with the Clemente statue, what style would you think would best encapsulate?
And then maybe something aged in wood, given the baseball aspect of the statue, and for brewing water adjustment, we would probably just use some rosin or some pine tar, maybe.
Ooh.
But I'd have to. That's
spicy.
Yeah.
Perhaps, because you were talking about aging it on wood, perhaps you could use. There was a beer that came out from Terrapin that used 3 different woods. It was for the Walking Dead show.
Yeah.
But it was for.
That's filmed in Georgia, and
the character Negan, he uses a baseball bat as a weapon. So they had a stout aged on 3 different baseball bat woods. So you could do that. But I think for Puerto Rico, though, what you could do is, since they have a strong rum background, so maybe it's a rum barrel in baseball wood.
Maybe I need to knock on Maggie's farm.
Yeah, ask them.
And start going down there. We have had a few rum barrels from them and made some barrel aged stuff. I think we just did that. That was probably prior to the neighborhood beer series. Rum barrels are kind of rare too. They're not, because rum is often aging stuff in barrels that have been used for something else. So they were bourbon barrels that now have had rum aged in them. I like that idea. Maybe bring a little spice into the equation too, to a little nod to the local cuisine.
Yeah.
And put French fries on it to make it like Pittsburgh.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I assume all of these are going to have French fries on top.
That's right.
Yeah. Make it like a golden ale and age, for the, the gold, black and gold. Everything's got to be a black and gold.
Black golden ale.
Yeah. Adam, did you have a landmark?
So I did, but I went a little abstract on this one. This is more of a landmark event. This is a beer for the Dirty Dozen. This is a bicycle competition.
Yeah.
For those that are not aware, this is an 80-kilometer race that tackles the 13 steepest hills in Pittsburgh. I know for a fact that I could never do this race because I've seen some documentaries on this race, and the hills that the participants have to go up is ludicrous.
Yeah.
Documentaries produced by episode 200 guest Rick Seaback.
Yes, thank you for that plug.
Hi, Rick.
So, for the Dirty Dozen, what beer would you produce?
Oh my God. That ride is insane. And it's also, in addition to 13 of the steepest hills in the city, it's also like 50 miles long. Mm-hmm. All those hills aren't clustered together. So you have this other aspect of just covering distance. And I know a guy, Jeremiah Sullivan, he's a guy who he rode the Dirty Dozen on one of the city bikes.
Jeez.
Yeah, and he I don't know if he broke a chain on in Dormont. I've seen it, and you're riding up a hill like this and the chain breaks. It's not a happy result.
No.
The dude's a beast. He was all lined up to do the keg ride for us the next year after that, and and then of course we had to cancel the keg ride. But wow, I don't know what. I have another friend who rode that on a tandem with his wife, then fiance. But then she somehow still married him after that.
Yeah, wow.
At that point, that's true love. There's no other explanation.
Or there's, I don't know what. Yes, or somebody needs to get their head checked. I don't know what. But I don't know what. Maybe an imperial Petal Pale Ale. Maybe it should be 13%.
Yeah.
Because after that, I think I would need to be anesthetized here. So an imperial version of Petal, I'd say.
Excellent.
The king of the Petal beers.
Yeah. First and last beer you'd have of the day. I thought you were going to throw in Carnegie Museum, and I'd have to make a beer with dinosaur parts or something.
We're not done yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Hope I didn't tip your hand.
No.
Scratching that off the list.
No. I did have one though that was more tied to a locale though, and a building, but it's a building that's no longer with us. How would you commemorate Three Rivers Stadium?
I would not pull water from all three rivers. No offense to those living along the Mon. Wow, yeah, I've spent a lot of time at Three Rivers in my youth. I don't know what that would be. the only beer that was legitimately served there was Iron City beer, or its variants, Icy Light. And I don't think anybody ever had any, like, even Budweiser in that ballpark. I'm sure you'll get letters from, all of the people who were drinking beer at River Stadium back in the day, right?
I was a child. I don't.
Yeah. I wasn't. It was not my beer drinking days. That's for sure.
I was a child watching Andy Van Slyke. I don't have any beer knowledge.
Yeah. I don't know what I'd do for River Stadium. I'd probably be able to identify more with the Civic Arena as a fallen venue, but it would probably be somehow related to hair metal and maybe some Grateful Dead.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
A weird melange of those. But yeah, I don't know what I'd do. It would have to convert from football to baseball. I have to work for both sports, right? Yeah, I got nothing for Three Rivers. Sorry, Three Rivers.
Well, maybe. Maybe it's a double release, and one's a golden ale and one's a black ale, and you can release it as a black and tan, but a black and gold.
I like it. I like putting it all in the same can.
Damn.
Zacham, he's got it all figured out. He knew the answer before we started.
I didn't. No, I literally just came up with that on the fly. But I gotta save it.
Illusion.
You knew.
Yeah. It wasn't my segment to have.
That's great. That's great. Nice.
Adam, do you have one final one?
I do, and this is a Pittsburgh landmark. It's in the Golden Triangle, but the Golf Tower. And for those that are not familiar with the Golf Tower or are not here in the Pittsburgh area, the Golf Tower is the building in downtown where you can tell the weather. They're able to provide temperature readings, precipitation, humidity, wind speed, that sort of thing, based on color bands on the top 5 floors of the building. They also convert it to a goal light whenever the Penguins are in the playoffs, like right now. They'll tell you whenever the Pens score, things like that. But for the Golf Tower, which is our beacon of light here in Pittsburgh for the goings on in the town.
I think we'd need to brew a beer that would adapt to the current situation, whatever would be going on. So if you're coming into the brewery and you're getting it and it's raining outside, it would have to be a blue beer, and then the sun would go behind the clouds and it would be actually, what is it for cloudy weather? I don't know. I used to be, maybe it's yellow, or there's a whole color code, right? There's a whole scheme for it.
Oh yes. And full disclosure, I had to look it up on Wikipedia beforehand.
Yeah. So red is like sunny and hot. So it's like a sunny day, so the beer would need to be would switch to a red appearance. So I think it would have to be something that would adapt. So we'd have to get the some R&D underway to figure out a liquid that would magically adapt to the. And then you could just set the beer on top of the building, and they could turn the light off and have the beer up there. The beer's red today, so it's going to be sunny for the next day.
You could have a little food dye under the counter and just
There's switch taps, maybe.
Yeah. If you guys saw the news though, it was a little bit on fire today.
A little bit.
So that means all the beers, they can all be Rausch beers now. Hooray!
Oh,
Today is Steve's day.
Hooray!
What's going on down there?
There's just a little fire. It didn't seem like nothing was really destroyed as far as I can tell. But yeah.
Well, at least we get a Rausch beer out of it. That's always a good thing.
Right. Exactly. Hooray! Hooray for Rausch beer.
That's right. A day with a Rausch beer is a good day, no matter what.
Both Brendan, our head brewer, and myself have been fortunate enough to travel to Burgh on different occasions.
Nice.
Immerse ourselves in all things smoke for a few days, going from brewery to brewery, and tour the Weiermann malt house. Got the insider, like, hey, I make beer for a living, give me a great tour, and that was insane because that's been going on for hundreds of years at this little facility. Making some of the best malt in the world.
If I could remember the episode number, I'd tell you, but we have a whole Schlenkerla episode, but it's in the back. It's in the back catalog.
Yeah.
But All right. I think we came up with some good beers to represent Pittsburgh, and maybe look forward to them, or maybe just dream about them as we will. In the meantime, though, I just want to thank Scott for coming on, and give you the time right now to just plug Pittsburgh Brewers Guild, the guide, East End, anything, any websites, anything that you want to right now.
The floor is yours.
Everything's pretty obvious. Three Rivers Beer Week. We've got a placeholder website up there that is a countdown to Beer Week. Definitely look up the Pittsburgh Brewery Guide. If you hit that, that'll also bring you into the Pittsburgh Brewers Guild site, where you can look at the trails online, plan your visits, plan your trips to all the breweries, so that if you need to go to 40 breweries in a weekend, that's going to be your best first place to stop. We're East End Brewing on all the platforms, because we're old and we got to squat on all those names. Anything else came along, and we our restaurant, we haven't announced it yet, but we're actually, since we're running it ourselves in typical East End fashion, we can't say no to an awful joke. But our restaurant will be doing a press release and making it official here in a little bit, once the pizza boxes are printed and come in and get a few other things in place. But it'll be under the name East End Chewing.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Which still makes me giggle, because I'm a 12-year-old idiot. Come out and see us at the brewery. We're opening our interior space June 1st, as many locals are, and we got a nice big outdoor patio. If you don't want to do the inside situation, each spot holds about 100 people, so plenty of room to spread out and have some beer.
Awesome. Well, that sounds pretty good. And also, don't forget to check out the traveling beer market. That'll be May 28th. And you can get that new neighborhood release as well. But if you want to find us on social media, all you have to do is search Hop Nation USA, and they'll get you Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And if you want to listen to brand new episodes of the Hop Nation USA podcast every Friday, as you should, then search Hop Nation USA on your favorite podcatcher, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Player FM, anything that starts with pod and ends in cast. We're on all those platforms. But if you're on any of them, leave us a 5-star review, because
we are a 3,000 hit show, but they only let us use 5.
And that's a bigger crime than Adam not bringing me back burial from North Carolina. What's the matter with you?
Tough room, man. Wow.
God, you're in trouble.
Oh, thanks a bunch, guys. This was really a lot of fun.
Thank you. This was great.
Yeah. Well, you got to take that show on the road and come out once things get a little more open, and come see us. We'll do an on-site at the brewery, and
oh yeah, for sure.
Fill you up with thick crust pizza and plenty of beer.
Nice.
You don't even have to twist our arms.
Yeah, that's
beer. It's a crazy thing, a combination.
Yeah, we'll definitely be resending that email that we sent.
Sounds great, man.
All right. Well, thanks again, Scott. And tune in next week, because we actually will be on site at another brewery. So we're getting back into it. So tune in next week. It's Lincoln Ave.
Going yet?
Huh?
Are you able to say where you're going yet?
Oh, yeah. We're going to Lincoln Ave next week.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes. They were supposed to be the show that we were going to do right before pandemic hit. So we thought, we thought it was a nice way to redo and restart.
Reemerge, shall we say?
Perfect.
Full circle.
There it is.
All right. Well, we'll see you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.